Well, hello, folks, and welcome to the Dieter Melhorn Fishing Podcast. Hope you're having a good day, whatever day it is that you happen to be listening to the show. We got a couple things we're going to talk about today. One is whether or not tournament should be canceled. And there's some amazing video from the Bassmaster Classic that's going on down in Texas this week that I want you to take a look at. And I want to get your opinion on something that may be happening there. But first, I want to bring you up to date on something I did a podcast on yesterday. This has to do with the kayaker on Santee Cooper, Lake Marion, that died this past weekend. His body was found, as I said in the previous podcast. He's been identified, Henry Bryant, 44, from Summerville, South Carolina. And cause of death preliminarily is asphyxia from drowning. And right now, that's where it stands on the cause of death. There's still an investigation going on as to whether anything contributed to this, but right now it's looking like he may have just fallen out of the kayak. And this is interesting because I started doing some looking today and yesterday on this topic, and I found, I've got some notes here, 7 kayak fatalities in South Carolina in the past 16 months. That seemed high to me. That seemed like a lot of people. Obviously, kayaks are very popular. A lot of people fish out of them now. A lot of people, use them recreationally just for the fun of it. And I started reading some of these stories about this, and there's a lot of them, and they happen routinely now. These fatalities, a lot of them are storm related. A couple of them were people trying to come in from a storm, get knocked out of the boat, not wearing life jackets, and they don't resurface. So this one obviously was in colder water, a little different story there, but it seemed like a lot. So I actually filed a Freedom of Information Act request with the South Carolina DNR to find out how many have occurred over the past 5 years. I am curious about it. I had some conversations with several people about the whole topic today, and I don't know. I'd love to get y'all's opinion on whether or not it should be mandatory to wear a life jacket while on a kayak. Should the government force somebody to do that? They do it on jet skis. There are requirements. If you're operating a jet ski, you have to wear a life jacket. Boats don't have that rule. A normal traditional boat doesn't have that rule. You have to have the life jackets on board, one for each person that is on the vessel, but there's no requirement to wear them. Should they require people in kayaks to wear a life jacket? I'd love to get y'all's feedback on that. I'm probably more on the libertarian stand of let people do what people are going to do and leave them the heck alone. But if this is tying up, our resources for rescues and recoveries, I don't know. Do you mandate it? I don't know. Give me your thoughts on it. I'd love to hear and get your feedback on it. Would it have saved the Henry Bryant this weekend? Who knows? Don't know what the situation is. A lot of these situations, especially in the extremely cold water, it may or may not make a difference. One thing about being in a kayak, a lot of times people are doing this alone. And that's one of the beauties of it, is that it can be a very solitary sport and way to fish and way to be out there. And a lot of times they're out there alone. So even if you have a life jacket on, you fall into cold water, you have limited time to, one, not only get yourself out of the water and back into the kayak, but then you need to get yourself to a place to where you can dry off and warm up and get your body temperature back up. So, I don't know. Would it have helped here? Maybe so, maybe not. We don't really know. But it sounds like some of these other ones I was reading about, several of these, I wrote the dates down on them. Now, one of these took place in Lake Hartwell right before Christmas in 2023. That one, pretty cold water. Don't know if it would have mattered. Another one was in October. It's going to be pretty cold water at the end of October. But one of these was in August. Another one was in July. It might have. And another one here was, in the winter. Would it have made a difference? Who knows? But I'd love to get your feedback on it. Love to get your feedback on it. The next thing, and it's weather related, it's fishing related, and it's from the bass fishing world. I don't get into the bass fishing world too often unless there's some kind of drama. This is somewhat drama. This is interesting because, again, it's one of those things we can learn from. There's a video that surfaced online. I'll roll the video, let you see what it looks like, and then we'll talk about it. All right, so there you go. I don't know who took the video. Ben Milliken, who is a YouTuber and professional bass fisherman, he posted it, I believe, onto his Instagram. I saw it there. I saw it somewhere else in somebody's feed. But it's a interesting situation. This was a professional bass fisherman that is in the Bassmaster Classic that starts Friday. Pay attention to that because there's something there we'll talk about. Trey McKinney, experienced angler, knows what he's doing, has been in rough water, rough conditions before, but got into a situation where this was a wind-blown ramp. This was a deal where the wind was blowing into the ramp. It looks like, 3-footers coming in there, enough breaking right there at the ramp, just swamping the boat. It could have gotten very dangerous. Not only for the damage to the boat, but anybody trying to help. Some people have, I read some comments online, well, why didn't somebody jump in there and try to help? Well, depending on who it is, you may be better off with them not helping. I think he had another angler that was in the truck and trying to wrangle that. But as far as getting into the middle of that, you kind of need to know what you're doing. I think the anglers themselves were probably better, more well versed in that situation than anybody. But we'll get to a question here with what's going on Friday when the tournament starts. But this was, by the way, a practice day. It was a voluntary, you did not have to fish. It was not a part of the tournament. It was totally up to the anglers to go out. So they went out, it was their decision to go out. Most of the anglers, from what I understand, went out of ramps that were protected from the wind. This one obviously was not. Wind's blowing straight into it. And we've all been on lakes to where there are some ramps that, if you got lakes that you fish, the ones which are going to get beaten by winds from the south, from the north, east, west, and you try to avoid those. This one, for whatever reason, he went out of this ramp. Bad decision. But, hindsight's 2020. This lake, what's interesting about it, it's Ray Roberts. It's in Texas. It's a big lake. 29,000 acres. So it's a lot of water. Friday, the start of the Bassmaster Classic, they're calling for 15 to 20 mile an hour sustained winds. And I'm going to throw up a picture of this lake and what it looks like. And its orientation, it's oriented north as that's the top of the map. You will see that a south wind is going to be blowing straight up that lake. And it can create some pretty bad waves, I would think, on that lake. Gusts to 30 is what they're calling for. Sustained 15 to 20, gusts to 30. The question is, and this is what I want your opinion on, I want your feedback on, do you postpone the tournament? Or in that situation, do you cancel that day of fishing? This is a 3-day event. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do you just cancel that day completely, scrub it, just for the safety of the anglers? Well, this is the biggest tournament in the bass world. This is the one that everybody wants to win. And we all know that sometimes good judgment gets cast out the window when an event like this, not only the money, but just the career-changing power that winning this tournament has on a professional bass fisherman, can kind of lead you to do maybe some bad stuff, make bad decisions, do something you wouldn't normally do. Now, these guys operate in some bad conditions, probably more than most fishermen do. They're fishing all over the country. They're fishing up on the Great Lakes. They're fishing, the Finger Lakes, places like that, to get some big winds, some big waves. So they're somewhat used to it. But is it worth a situation like this postponing that day of fishing or canceling that day of fishing? I bring this up we've had other weather related deals, and we've discussed it. And it seems like more and more these tournament directors are doing the smart thing and either canceling the day of fishing, rolling it back a day. Maybe they go fish on Thursday, take off Friday, and then fish Saturday and Sunday. I think having some options there, just erring on the side of safety, is worth it. In my opinion, that's kind of where I stand. But I want to hear what you say. Do you have the opinion that they should just go at it and just may the best man win and just go at it? There is a part of me that thinks, well, listen, it's the angler's choice. It's the operator of the boat, the fisherman, his choice, his decision to go out there. But like I said, sometimes people in these situations will make some bad decisions. The other thing to take in account here is the television side of it, the broadcasting side of it, in that to make this interesting for television, you've got to have a camera and a cameraman on several of those boats. So you're at that point putting the cameraman in a dangerous situation by being on the boat. Somebody who it's kind of their job and they don't have a choice in fishing or not fishing, and they're not going to win the classic. So you got that to kind of consider. So would love to get your opinion on that. So another thing that I hope ends up well and goes good. But yeah, give me your opinion on that. The thing with the boat and the ramp, that's just a good example of pay attention to the weather. And it's why I look at the weather all the time, because even where I fish, we're not going to get it that bad. But pulling up to a boat dock and a good crosswind, or if the ramp's getting hammered and I've got guide trip clients on the boat, you need to have a place where they can get off safely. Trying to do that in 2-3 foot waves, which we're not really going to get 3-footers where we're at. But if this was Santee Cooper, maybe Lake Norman could do it, depending on the ramp and just how bad it is. It's something to keep in mind. So keep an eye on the weather. Pick a ramp that is protected. And when you're in the situation he was in, man, you you either back the boat off the trailer, get your buddy to go meet you at another ramp, or you do what he did and, a wing and a prayer, jump off of there, try to get the winch safety chain onto it and go with it. So he made it out. Okay. Trey McKinney's okay. Got the boat out. Everything fine. So that one ended on a good note. So love to get your feedback on both of these things. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. We'll catch you out on the water.